Right. So, oh, don't know if I've lost signal then. A rolling pin, because I'm guessing that everyone has a rolling pin at home. You can use a foam roller if you have one for some of the exercises. I'll let you know when the foam roller would also be appropriate. But if you haven't got one, I would have an old towel handy, so that if you need to, if the rolling pin feels a bit hard, you can just put the towel on the top. Okay, so a rolling pin, a towel. The other thing is a Pilates band or any kind of exercise stretchy band. If you haven't got one of those, there's an alternative. I've got 2 pairs of tights, put together 2 pairs of thick tights, or a pair of leggings you could also use. Right, so once you've got your bits and pieces, we're going to start standing up. So you put your rolling pin down and begin massaging your right foot, and you're going to go really slowly, and you're pressing into it. Obviously, if you've got one of those foot rollers, you can use those as well, but a rolling pin is just as good. So you're going slowly over it. You're trying to see all the foot flattening out. So you're mobilizing all the joints. And then stay with the rolling pin underneath the ball of your foot. And you're going to rock your foot from side to your knee, your ankle, so that you put weight on one side and then the other side. And then move it a little bit further up. So now I'm just behind the ball of my foot, massaging the start of the arch, side to side. Then we're going a bit further back, and this is the bit I think it's really useful to concentrate on, and that's the back of the arch, just before your heel. There's a thick piece of connective tissue under there. So pressing in, trying to free that up. And then lastly, the same on the heel, pushing into the heel and going side to side. Okay, and then that's that foot done. That foot should feel a bit better. Forwards and back, pressing into it. With all the massaging action. Okay, and then stopping under the ball of the foot, and we do the rocking from side to side. And then just behind the ball of the foot, same thing there, pressing in. Might be a bit tender on the outside, lateral arch. On this side, might be a bit tender, but pressing in as much as you can. And then the back of the arch, so just before the heel, pressing in quite firmly there. And then lastly, on the heel, side to side there. Okay, and then move the rolling pin to one side so you can stand with your feet parallel, about hip width distance apart. We're going to bend the knees and we're going to do some roll downs. So we start by dropping the chin, then curling the shoulders over, then the rib cage is curling over. And then you can get that halfway down. So roughly when your head is in line with your pelvis, you're going to let the arms dangle. If it's too much of a stretch, support your back by putting your hands on your legs. Otherwise, you're going to hang the arms and take 3 breaths there, trying to send your breath into your back and your side ribs. And then we're going to slowly come back up to standing. And we'll do the same thing, bending the knees, curling over until you're about halfway down. Just have a look and check that you're not leaning onto one foot more than the other. Your weight's in the center. Relax the neck. 3 deep breaths into the back and the sides of the rib cage before you slowly come back up and stack up nice and tall. And then 1 more. Curling over. Check your weight is even between both feet. You're going to let the arms hang, the head hang. And we're going to breathe deeply into the back and the sides of the ribs. This time we're not coming back up, we're just going to curl all the way down. And we're going to get down onto the floor, onto all fours. Okay, and we're going to start a type of massage again now, using the rolling pin. You're going to put the rolling pin in front of your right knee. And if I show you from the side, we're going to have our toes tucked under. We're going to lower your chest so that you can put your forearm on the rolling pin. Slowly forward and back. So not only are we now massaging the muscles in the forearm, we're freeing up toe joints and the knee joints and the hip joints. So as well as massaging and pressing into that side of your forearm, you're also rocking forward and back with the hips. Okay, still working on the right arm, but now we're going to put the rolling pin in line with the left knee. So now we're doing the other side of our right arm. You're going to turn your palm to the ceiling and you're going to rotate in the torso just a bit to be able to get the back of that right arm on the rolling pin. And it's the same thing in that we're rocking forwards and back like this. So I've had to twist my spine just a little bit. I want you to get into the other side of your forearm. One side of the forearm is underneath is working when you're flexing your fingers and your wrist. The other side is when you're extending your fingers and your wrist. Okay. Now we're going to move the rolling pin, untuck your toes. We're still working on this right side. We're going to thread the right arm between your left hand and your left knee. When that arm stops, so it's not going to keep on going, it's going to come to a natural stop. You're going to stay as if you're listening to the floor with your right ear, and you're going to put a little bit of pressure down into the floor with the back of this right arm. And while you're there, you're trying to send your breath into your rib cage. Then you're going to use your left hand to push you up. And that right hand is going to keep going. It's going to reach to the ceiling. So you're rotating your spine the other way. So reach that right hand to the ceiling, see how high it can get, and then we'll repeat it. So the right hand is now going to thread all the way underneath between the left hand and the left knee. When it can't go any further, a gentle push down with the back of this right arm. And the intention to send your breath into your rib cage. Anywhere there's a bit of room. And then we're going to again use the left hand to push us up and reach that right hand up to the ceiling. So you rotate the other way. And then all on the left. So the rolling pin goes in front of the left knee. You tuck your toes. You go down with the chest. And we massage the forearm whilst we're rocking. If you can picture, it's like a puppet. The fingers are controlled by really long tendons and the muscles are actually way back here. So any typing you do, anything you do with your hands, you're using the muscles that are way back here. Okay, move the rolling pin in front of your right knee. You're going to turn your palm the other way, and you're going to have to rotate your back just a little bit in order to get the other side of the forearm massaged. Okay, now we're going to move the right hand. We're going to thread this left hand between your right hand and your right knee. So it goes all the way underneath, like you're listening to the floor with your left ear. A bit of pressure down into the floor with the back of that left arm. And you're trying to breathe into your rib cage. Your right hand is going to push you up, and we're going to stretch the left arm up to the ceiling, stretching all the way up to my fingers. And then we go back underneath, all the way under, pressing the back of that left arm into the ground, if that's comfortable in your shoulder. Trying to send your breath somewhere into the rib cage, wherever there's a bit of room. And then push the floor with your right hand. Last time to stretch that left arm up to the ceiling. And then coming out of it. And coming off your hands. Right, so another bit of freeing up to do in the upper back. This is the one where you can use your foam roller if you've got one. Otherwise, we're just going to roll a little towel up and put it over the rolling pin. We're going to start on the upper arm. So we're going to put the rolling pin halfway up the upper arm, and you're going to rest your head down. Now, if you have problems with your shoulder and that's uncomfortable in this area, you can put a cushion there between your arm and your ear. Otherwise, just going to rest your head down. And we're going to either stay very still if that's really uncomfortable on that point we're pressing on, or if you can cope with it, you're going to rock backwards and then back on top of it. What we're doing is trying to find the tension and work on it. So actually, I find that quite uncomfortable. I'm just going to stay still, take a few breaths. Then I'm going to bring the rolling pin down a little bit. So we're going to work our way to the armpit. So you bring it down a little bit, we do the same thing there. And actually, I think I can roll back with this one. It's not quite as painful. Again, the rolling is very slow. And then I'm going to move it down a bit more. I'm actually in the armpit almost now. I'm doing the same thing. You can, as we get a bit closer to the armpit, you can support your head if you find that more comfortable. And then we're going to bring it a tiny bit lower than the armpit, so just a fraction lower. And again, you're either going to be here with your head on your arm, or you're going to be here. Either is totally fine. You might want to put both hands behind your head. In fact, when you get just below your armpit, have a go at supporting your head and shoulder. And it's as you go back that you will probably feel a little bit of tenderness in the muscles that are pressing into the rolling pin. And that's your lat muscle. Very big muscle. It's quite important that it doesn't get overly tight, overly stuck. So let's try to stay on that sore spot. Take a few breaths. Make sure you're not holding your breath. And then you can come up out of it. Maybe do a little test to see if there's more freedom in the shoulder that we've just worked on. So I can feel a little bit more freedom in that right shoulder now than I can in my left when I lift the arms up. So then do the same on the left. The lat muscle, if we're in this position for long periods, it's going to get strong. It's going to get maybe even locked in an on position. It also then goes all the way down the back and attaches down here. So it's a huge muscle and it can affect the lower back as well as the shoulder girdle. Let's start halfway up the arm and just relax down there if you can. So none of the muscles in the body are bad, you know, they're all really important. They only become a problem if they're working too hard and they're not being balanced up with their opposing muscles. Okay, let's come down a little bit. The problem is when muscles become. Okay, we bring the rolling pin down a bit further. I'm almost in my armpit now. As I said, you can support your head if you start to find it uncomfortable to leave it down. And then we're going to go just below the armpit. So just out of it, just a fraction below. And then if you support your head with both hands, you can make your movement a little bit bigger, taking that top elbow back and then coming forward. And you might find, as I said on the other side, that as you rock back, you find a spot that is really sore. If you do, really try to stay on that sore and breathe and know that it's actually a bit looser. We're now going to lie on our backs. My computer is saying, I'm slowing down because it's saying that the internet is dipping out, so I'm just taking it a bit slower so you don't miss anything. We're going to bring the rolling pin with the towel on the top underneath the back of the pelvis now. So we're on our sacrum bone at the back of the pelvis. You should be able to relax and your back will stay in a neutral position. If your rolling pin's a bit low, it will make you want to send your lower back down. If it's a little bit high, it's going to make you arch your back. So we want it in the middle on the sacrum bone so that you're staying in your neutral spine. You've got your natural little arch in your lower back. In that position, we're going to rock slow knees and the hips from one side to the other. So this is going to be possibly quite tender in the glutes as we get over to the side. If you've got a foam roller, I haven't got a roller, I'm installing with the towel on the rolling pin. You can always just use a towel in case I got cut off there. Right, so I'm going to bring it all the way in now and squeeze it in. I'm going to slide my left leg all the way down. And as I'm really pulling that right thigh as close to me as possible, and I'm going to left arm head position as well. Left arm's reaching in the opposite direction to the left foot. They're both reaching away from each other. The right leg is staying really close. We can open the right knee out a little bit to the side so we get a little bit of a stretch in the inner thigh, but it's still staying close to your body. And we're going to have one more reach through the left foot and the left arm to stretch away. And then we're going to bring the arms and legs back in. And we'll do the other side. So now I've got the right knee really close to me. I'm going to stretch my left leg away. I'm going to stretch my right arm away. And I'm going to take that left leg out to the side a bit, but it's still close to me. And I'm reaching my left foot in one direction, reaching the right, I'm reaching my right foot in one direction, reaching the right arm in the other. Get that stretch. Then let's bring everything back. And we're just going to lift the hips and slip the rolling pin out so we're lying without it. And you should feel like the back of the pelvis is really heavy. We're going to keep that heavy feeling. And we're going to start drawing our abdominals in and imprinting the lower back and then letting go. Exhaling to draw in and imprint. Inhale to let go, returning to neutral. So a couple of those, rocking the pelvis forward and back, getting it to feel nice and heavy. Then we're going to go up into our pelvic curls. So we start with the imprinting of the lower back. Then as you lift your hips, your knees are going to be reaching away. We're going to stretch the arms, so they're going to reach away as well. We're going to take a breath. And on the breath out, we're going to send the rib cage back down. Pause for another breath. Then we're going to roll through our lower back. And then the arms can come back down. So same again, you go through your imprinting, the lower back. You reach the knees away as you lift the hips. We reach the arms away and take a deep breath. Exhaling, get the rib cage all the way down, and then another breath. Tighten the tummy to help you roll through the lower back. And then arms by your side. So we're going to do a few more of these. Probably notice that I've got my hands ending up on the wall, which is totally fine. I want you to feel like your hands are fixed wherever they get to. So as we exhale, Try and send the ribs down, but the hands aren't going to move. Just do one more. Imprinting. The knees are going one way. Inhale to reach the hands in the opposite direction. And then rib cage down. And lower back down. And then arms down. Okay. Less of the mobilizing now, a bit more of the strengthening. We're going to get our bands, mine are already tied, your TheraBand or your tights, and you're going to tie them with your knees together. So we've got a little bit of resistance. And then I'll get you to lie back down, feet quite close to your hips, and about hip width between the feet and the knees. So we're having to push into our band just slightly to keep the knees parallel, keep the thighs parallel. Instead of rolling through the spine now, we're going to keep it in our neutral position, which is where we've got that natural little arch. We're going to tighten our buttock muscles. So there's two layers here. First of all, imagine your tail. You're trying to pull your tailbone in at the back. So the back of the pelvic floor engages. Then you're going to squeeze your buttocks. So that's the superficial layer. Then we're going to go straight up in one piece, pushing through the heels, making sure their knees don't come together. They stay apart, they stay parallel. And then we come down slowly, again in one piece, straight to the back of the pelvis. And we go again. The tailbone draws in, the buttocks squeeze, we go up, nice and high. As you come down, you're not going to let your buttocks go, they're going to stay engaged. But imagine you're taking your pelvis a bit closer to your feet as you go down. Then the same again. Tailbone in, buttocks squeeze, we go up. The pelvis gets a little bit closer to the heels as we come slowly down. Let's have two more like that. Tailbone, buttocks, going up. Pelvis towards the heels. So we're also waking up the hamstrings a little bit, the back of the legs. And again. Okay, this time I want you to stay lifted on your next one. Make sure your ribs aren't sticking out, that we've got the pelvis nice and high. And I'm going to give you a couple of options. You're either going to transfer the weight, which we can all start with, from one foot to the other, but keeping both feet in contact with the floor. So I'm just shifting my weight into one foot, then into the other foot. If you want to make it harder, when you shift the weight, you can extend the other leg out and then fold it back in. That left leg I'm putting my weight into, so my right leg is extending out, unfolding, and then folding back in. Either way, you want your hips to stay nice and high. And you want your thighs, ideally, to stay relatively still. And the knees to stay apart. Okay, then we're going to come down. Do a little imprint of the lower back. Just give it a quick stretch. Again, with the next one, there's two options. So we're going to engage the glutes, the buttocks, and we go up. Nice and high with the hips, but not with the ribs. So this time, we're either going to go out with the knees, out, little pulses. Or if you want to make it harder, you're going to extend your leg out again to do your out, in. So with that one, I'll show you from this angle. You need to push out with both knees, not just the leg that's extended, but the standing knee as well. Going out, in. Otherwise, the moving leg, the extended leg is going to take the standing leg with it. Either way, if you're doing your leg extensions out in, or you're keeping your feet down, you're going out in, we want the hips nice and high, the buttocks still working. And bring your knees into your chest, squeeze them in. So you're squeezing your knees in and you're rocking from side to side as you do that, massaging your lower back. Okay, let's now come onto our sides. We're going to lie, let's lie on our left side first today. And lying on your left side, we're going to be in a boomerang shape. Not quite 90 degrees, which would be here. You're a little bit more open than that. Yeah, the boomerang. The legs are straight. You need to be able to find a neutral spine at the back. So you need to be able to stick your bottom out a little bit and have a little tiny arch, not be tucked under. So think of sticking your sitting bones out behind you as you hover your top leg. We're going to do a little up down with that top leg, back to hip height. Then we're going to sweep it back. As you sweep it back, now it's the opposite. We need to try and tuck under. So your leg comes forward, you stick your sitting bone out, up, down, the leg goes back, you're going to tuck that sitting bone under. And if you can exaggerate this, and it's not going to be a big, it's going to be quite a tiny movement, tiny wee movement of your sitting bone. But if you can exaggerate that it sticks out as the leg's in front of you and then it tucks under as the leg goes back, you're getting into that pattern of really disassociating the thighs from the pelvis, hip joints. In time, that should become a bit more natural. Sitting bone out, sitting bone under, and we get really thorough work in the hips. Under, out. We're doing about 10 of these. You might be counting. You know, I'm not very good at counting. Under, let's just do a couple more. Out, under, out, under. Then we're going to keep the leg in front. If you can do more, otherwise you stop here. You're going to try and do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Circling the leg one way, then circling the other. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax that leg. Hips switching over. The side. Lying all the way down, legs in front, but not too far. We can still find neutral in the lower back. You're going to hover that top leg, sticking the sitting bones out, so you've got a natural arch in your lower back. Up, down, and then as you sweep your leg back, tucking under. So there's a stopping point with that leg, not because there's a radiator in the way, as there is for me, but because the glute muscle is active, keeping your lower back stable. So in front, sitting bone trying to tuck, leg back, sitting bone sticking out, sitting bone tucking. It might feel counterintuitive to start with, but because we do a lot of sitting, we often get so stuck in the hips that we lose the disassociation. We start moving from our back instead of our hips. So sitting bone out, sitting bone under, sitting bone out, sitting bone under. Let's do a few more. And it's about 10, so if you're better at counting than me, you can do your own counting. When you've done 10, keep your leg forward. We're going to do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Other direction. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ow, you should have felt something in the hips there. We're going to take the band away. And we're going to work a bit more on our core muscles. So lying on your back, you've got your knees bent. You've got your neutral spine again, which is that little tiny wee gap. You're going to put your fingers just inside your hip bones. Your thumbs reaching up onto your lower rib bones. And we're going to start breathing in to let the tummy fill, and then on the exhale, feeling it drawing in. So getting that pattern that you fill up with your inhale, and then you become more compact with your exhale. Now, on the exhale, think about where you're drawing in from. I want you again to be drawing in from your tailbone at the back, but also feeling like you're drawing in with the hip bones and the lower rib bones at the front. If you've not done that before, that's going to feel quite complicated, but the more you practice, tailbone, hip bones, lower rib bones, the more you get used to that feeling of a tiny bit of activity in the whole core, a feeling that you've got a corset tightening. Now we're going to try not to let that go on our inhale. Breathe in. We're going to use the exhale to intensify it a little. Inhale, exhale, intensify it. Keep that going whilst we float one leg up, and then we float the other leg up. We put one foot back down, we put the other foot back down. We float one leg up, other leg up, leg down, other leg down. Now don't get bogged down with the legs. Doesn't really matter what they're doing. Roughly we're going up, up, down, down. But the legs are very relaxed. They're floating around. What's important is our core muscles are able to hold our spine really still. So keep thinking about that. Keep reinforcing that drawing in. If you can keep your back nice and still doing this one, then you can have a go at toe taps. So exhale or toe dips. Exhale to dip, inhale, lift, exhale, dip, inhale, lift. What's important is our back stays nice and still, and you'll be getting tired. So use that exhale, easier to connect. You blow the air out. Couple more. And then you can rest your feet on the floor. Then you're putting your hands underneath your head, interlacing your fingers. We're going to have the air slightly forward. And we're going to take a breath to curl up. Then we're going to take hold of the back of the legs to help us to lift the shoulder girdle slightly more. Then we're going to fully support the head at that new height for a moment, reaching over with the elbows and then relaxing back down. And again, curling up, grabbing the back of the legs, getting the shoulder girdle a bit higher if you can, supporting the head at that new height, reaching over with the elbows and then relaxing back down. One more. Trying to feel the lower ribs at the back or on the mat or on the floor. Trying not to feel the shoulder blades, so keep reaching over with the elbows. Now we're again going to do one leg up, two legs up, one foot down, two legs down, and that might feel like it's enough to cope with. I can feel myself sinking down already. If you can go on from here, you're going to do exhale, dip, inhale up. Exhale, dip, inhale up like we did before. But really, you're only doing what you can cope with. If you feel your back here and you're really struggling, have a rest. A few more there. And then we'll all have a rest. Okay, we're going to do one more bit on the abdominals. In fact, there's 3 parts to it. So after part 1, if you've had enough, you have a rest. After part 2, if you want to have a rest, you can. You don't have to keep going till the end. We're going to curl up again. Let's take the back of the legs and lift them up to tabletop. Now we're giving ourselves a head start. So we're getting the feeling of the lower ribs weighted onto the floor, the shoulder blades peeling off. We're going to support the head. We start off taking the chest towards one side and back to center, and then towards the other side, back to center. So you're taking your chest forward towards one side, forwards towards another side, the other side. Okay, now we're going to add in the stretching away of the opposite leg. So forward towards the left, the right leg would stretch. Forward towards the right, the left leg would stretch. Now, if you're starting to struggle, you can stop at any time. If you've got a bit more left to give, you can stay on the right side and stretch the left leg 3 times. 3, out and in 2, out and in 1. Then we go towards that left side of the chest. The right leg goes out and in 3, out and in 2, out and in 1, and then you relax down. Well done. We're going to grab the rolling pin again, put the towel on the top, and then pop it underneath the occipital bone. So that's all the work done. We're going to do a bit more releasing. The occipital bone is the first sticky out bit of bone at the base of the skull. So I'm putting my rolling pin up against that bone, not quite underneath it, but almost underneath it, up against it, the very, very top of the back of the neck. And you're going to just have your head really heavy there. You might immediately feel some tension in the muscles that are on the rolling pin. If you can, you're going to slowly turn your nose to one side and then bring it back to center, and then slowly turning it to the other side and back to center. You might feel that it's too sore to turn your head very far. You might just turn it a tiny bit. Do what you can cope with. It doesn't want to be so painful that you're wanting to lift your head off it. You want to keep your head heavy. So nice and slow. If you find there's a spot, maybe more on one side than the other, that's tight, you're going to work on those tight spots. If you find a really tender spot, just stay still on it. Take a few breaths until it passes. Okay. When you're ready, you're going to roll it out from underneath you and stretch your arms away. And I want you to turn to look at your right hand. You can turn your head all the way as far as it will go now. And you're going to stretch the fingers of the left arm. Stretch the whole of the left arm right the way through to the fingers. And then relax that arm. Bring the head to the center. Turn the head all the way to the left hand. We're going to stretch the right arm away, right through to the fingers. And let's do that once more each arm. So looking at the right, stretching the left. Looking at the left, stretching the right. And then come onto your side, slowly push up to sitting. We've got 2 more things to do. You can definitely use your foam roller for these 2, or you can stick with the rolling if that's all you've got. So we're going to sit on top of the rolling pin, ouch. Then we're going to tilt slightly onto one side. So I'm going to put my weight more onto my right glute. I'm going to let that right knee fall. And then I'm going slowly from the sitting bone all the way up to the back of the pelvis, to the sacrum. And just seeing if there's anywhere along that line that's got a sore spot, a little adhesion in it, a bit of muscle that's stuck and doesn't relax very easily. And they're the bits I'm going to work on. I found a spot about, where is it? There. That I'm just going to stay on. If when you found a tender spot you want to come off your hands, you can if you're more comfortable on your elbow. Just going to stay there for a moment. And breathe. I forgot to say breathe. Obviously you're all breathing, but you want to breathe slowly to help you relax. And then you can do the same on the other side. Sitting on the top. Now I'm going to lean towards my left, so my right buttock, the weight comes off my right buttock a bit. Let that left knee fall. And I'm going to go slowly. So with these exercises, it doesn't really matter what position your upper body is in, as long as you're getting the pressure on the muscles that you want. So you can move around, get yourself as comfortable as possible. Like I said, if you find a particularly tender spot, there we go. You can go onto your elbow if you find that easier than being on your hand. You can hear that bee, it's so, not big, big black flies, so loud. Okay, lastly we're going to massage our calves. So start at the top of the calves and slowly roll your legs from one side to the other. Now this is just going to be the same as having a massage with someone's hands, not perhaps as relaxing, but as beneficial. So drink lots of water. Let's move that down a little bit, but then gradually all the way down. Drink lots of water. So you've got everything flowing. And you should feel a lot looser. Today's session, you can take as long as you want with this bit. Same as before. For me, about halfway down on the outside of the calf is the tightest bit. That's commonly the tighter part, I think. If you're pronating, if you've got tendency for your arches to flatten. So if you find any really sore spots, try to stay on them and breathe. And know that if you stay on them for at least 30 seconds, chances are they will ease up and it won't be as painful. If you can wait for that moment when the tension, the intensity of it dissipates, then you know you've had an impact. I'm going to leave you to do that by yourselves before I lose internet connection again. Okay. And I will see you soon.